except for health, it's not going to be on Health Rebels. So anyway, I had some good experiences this weekend, and I'm going to share one with you. First and foremost, this is Dr. Pompa. I think you guys all know him. We were at a seminar, my whole staff was at a seminar with him this weekend, and he's the guy that developed the Stemnomics course and has basically been working with all of the leaders in the area. So I just asked him to give us a little bit of a pep talk. So if I can figure out how to get the little thing over by the other little thing and push it. There we go. We should have a little bit of a...
Hey everybody, I'm here with Pompa, and we are and we're embarking on this amazing fasting Stemnomics adventure together. We're starting our second week after Pompa, and I thought maybe you could just give us some idea where they're going and how this is going to change their life.
No doubt it will, and what you're learning is stuff that we have worked out for years. And, I love this analogy. We didn't understand, I'm sure you went over the benefits of a fast, right? Okay, so these benefits are different for everybody, and a lot of it has to do with what you're learning now up to the fast. The analogy is this: you don't just run a marathon, you train for a marathon to get the best result, or even finish the marathon for that matter. So that's what you're doing with the fast, right? We're going to get better results, and you probably have taught them, being fat adapted, going through these variation strategies that you're going to learn. That really is how you're going to get the most autophagy, which means your body's eating all the bad cells, and then it heals, right? I mean, that's the healing process. As we get older, we start getting less of them.
Yeah.
But you're going to get the most stem cell production out of the fast. I mean, and there's obviously a lot of other benefits. The more energy your body will be able to use to heal things that it hasn't healed in years. But all of that you're training for, like the marathon, right? So you're going to go into the marathon. Maybe that's a bad analogy. It won't be that hard. But that's all it is. You're training for it, you're going to get the best result. And I'm excited for it.
Yeah, we have people that are pretty healthy and some people that have a lot of health challenges all together. And there's a huge group, and they're really great people to work with. So I'm really looking forward to you guys get some great benefits out of this.
Well,
all right.
I'll follow what he says.
Because I'm listening to him. Thank you.
All right, so I thought you guys would like that. Since I had a little time with him, I asked him if he wouldn't mind, just doing that. So he's behind it. There's several offices, like I said, around the country doing this, and we're getting some good results. Hey, by the way, do you mind sharing your what you told me this week?
Just that I'm feeling better with my back. I think it's because of the adjustments, but I have a lot more energy. And I've lost a little weight, so I feel good.
Yeah, that's right. You worked out in your garden for 8.
Yeah, like 6 to 8 hours over 2-3 days. I've been swimming, and I just have more energy then. And I have really cut back on the carbs and the sugar, and I'm surprised.
And your blood sugar is leveled out.
Yeah,
right?
my blood sugar has come down quite a bit, especially in the middle of the day. It's really coming down. So there's a lot of good things. I feel good.
Yeah, and that's just beginning. So that's amazing. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to convert our body into burning fat instead of all of the sugar and glucose that we've been taught to eat for a lifetime. Anybody else have any other things? You were telling me something.
Yeah, I am. I craved sugar my whole life, and I didn't crave sugar this week.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty great. And there was one day where I ate lunch and the salad dressing had some kind of sugar in it, and it was crazy. Like, I craved sugar like crazy, and I ended up snacking a couple times with like almonds or with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that helped.
Right.
But it's a relief to not crave sugar so much.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything that they noticed or experienced they want to talk about? That's so fun. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just had a hard time getting it together to do the 2-2-2-2.
Yeah.
And incorporating that into my daily routine.
Mm-hmm.
But once I did, I found that I've only been eating like 1-2 meals a day.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Yeah, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, and is your energy better or worse? The same?
It
Uh-huh.
seems about the same.
Okay.
Well, a little bit better than last week.
Yeah, I know.
No doubt.
Some stuff going on. Anybody else have anything they want to add? I mean, this is really great for us to be able to share what we're experiencing and encourage people. Maybe you have something bad go on. You don't have to share it, but you could, you know, like, I mean, you were asking, why are you thirsty all the time, right? On the Health Rebels, and this is why it's really good. I mean, one reason when you're thirsty, your body's, you know, detoxing, and you're starting to, you know, get rid of some of the salts and things and the bad minerals that have been stuck in your body. One thing that we've always been told is drink water, right?
Yes.
Drink X amount of water a day. Well, it's not really what your body may or may not need it. And when you're doing water fast, or some people do what called dry fast, we won't really go into that right now, but you know, if you're thirsty, drink. If you're not thirsty on this thing, you don't necessarily need to drink a lot of water just because we've been told. What we're finding, there's a lot of false data out there. So, and another reason we're doing it this way, and what Dr. Pompa really emphasized this weekend, is if you do this right, it's going to increase your autophagy tremendously, which is the breaking down of the bad cells, and the stem cell production. You know, we're not just fasting to skip meals. We're doing it for an end product, and that end product is a healthier body. And remember, when we're breaking down the old cells that are sugar adapted, right? Consider that all these engines in our body burn sugar. As we break down the weak ones and new cells are being produced, those new cells are now already fat adapted. Isn't that cool? So we're not trying to take an old engine and make it burn diesel when it's burned, you know, gasoline its whole lifetime. We're taking a cell, we're wiping it out, we're rebuilding a new one that's actually designed to burn ketones already. When we train cells not to burn ketones for so long, try to get it to burn a ketone. That's like, are you kidding me? That's too much work, you know, because sugars glucose is the easiest thing to burn, then protein, then fat. So one thing we did, a couple people came in early from Monterey, we did the body comp test on them. You definitely want to find a time that we can do that for you. I'm going to put online a video explaining how you can tell what your muscle mass is, your fat mass. I mean, where are you with that? How toxic your cells are and stuff. And I'll explain that on there. I don't want to try to go into it here because it will take too long. But okay, so
Can't we wait till we just get our new bodies and then
yeah, I might not be around by then. You're going to live so long, you know. So you know, wins. Anybody else have anything or question? Anything that they noticed happen? Yeah.
I just used Carb Manager for
Okay,
the first
good.
time all
Yeah.
week,
Yeah.
and it was enlightening.
Wasn't that
It was
awesome?
absolutely enlightening.
Great.
So
Is that an app?
Yeah.
It's an app and it's free,
Yeah.
and it will tell you how many carbs are in items. Like I was eating cabbage as one of my veggies, and I didn't realize how many carbs are in the veggies
Yeah.
instead of the veggies. So it was really, really good to keep you focused on because there's carbs in everything, right? So
Yeah.
make sure you don't go over
Right.
carbs.
And we're going to go over that too. We're going to some of you, this is your first time here, you can always watch the first video again. And we're going to go over these things over and over because a number of times through we'll give you the certainty you need to know what to do about it. But we want to keep our carbs down, and the Carb Manager is really easy to use. Who else got it? Anybody? A couple of you guys? Okay, just if you have a cell phone, just get on there and go to apps and put in Carb Manager. It's free to download. And there's some really good recipes on there. As you learn to get yourself fat adapted, there's going to be a point where you're going, what the heck can I eat? And they have some really good fat adapted diets on there. So any other wins? Anybody else want to say anything or any questions about it? The other thing you want to get is the Think Dirty app, right? The Think Dirty app is also another real good one to have because I can show you guys that afterwards or demonstrate it. But, you know, especially for products you put on your face, because the government does not regulate products that you put on your face. If you don't inhale, if you don't eat it, they don't care what's in it. Thing is that your biggest organ in your body is your skin, and it absorbs all that stuff. So a lot of the times we see, especially women who wear a lot of different types of makeup, thallium and barium, are really high when we do the heavy metal test. So, and that can block your cell receptors, and I'll explain that in a few minutes. So, how did everybody do last week? You know, despite people thinking they ate 3 and 4 times a day, we've done this now for 2 weeks because we kind of got a jump start. Who else counted how many meals they put in their body? Okay, how many?
Usually 3, well, 4, usually snacks.
Did you have to cut out some snacks, or was that normal for you?
I cut out snacks.
Yeah. Go ahead, just shut up. 6? 6?
3 to 7.
3 to 7?
Do you count bullet coffee?
Bulletproof coffee? It is, no, you don't have to count the bulletproof coffee because it's a ketone.
Okay.
And we're wanting our body to go into ketosis anyway.
Well, like lemon and water or lime.
That, I don't think you need to count that. Yeah, I don't think so. That's,
Do you count tea?
well, here's the deal. Anything that's going to stimulate your pancreas to create, to inject insulin in, so probably the lemon will trigger that response. So I think, yeah, I think teas are okay as long as you don't put any sweeteners in them. But really, let's really kind of get it down to putting things in your mouth, like food, solid particles, because we can split hairs here. But if you're drinking tea all day to stop, you know, to fill you up, then I recommend you use sea salt, put it on your lips. Anybody else have? Yeah.
Well, I just love counting the number of times I eat. Because I'm discovering I don't need to eat as many times as I was eating. And I do have lots more energy.
Yeah.
So that in and of itself is
Wow.
making a big difference in my life.
Yeah, just the fact that your body takes so much energy to digest.
Yeah.
If you're not digesting, you got all that spare energy.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, anybody here empty nesters besides me? Man, I got a lot more time and energy on my hand, you know. So when you're feeding those kids and all these microbiome, the other thing, Chris, I was going to say is you might already start killing off some of those sugar-craving microbiome, the bugs in your gut. And one of the things about autophagy is we're going to knock out the bad, weak bugs, the microbiome, as well as our bad, weak cells. So we're not going to we're going to starve off the weak ones, and then the good microbiome are going to come, and they're the ones that don't want sugar.
There was another thing, like this week I noticed that my fat intake was pretty good, but I really have laid off vegetables and trying to avoid carbs, and so I need to figure out what vegetables I can add back in.
Yeah, just look at your carb counter. You can look up anything on there, you know, it's pretty cool.
So you can't do this as a vegetarian then?
Well, we were talking about that there are vegetarians that do it, okay, because you can but getting your protein level up is a little tough. But there's a lot of protein in vegetables. You know, you can get various type. I don't recommend doing a lot of soy because it's so estrogen based and it causes a lot of hormone imbalances. I was telling Caitlin today, you know, a lot of the vegan thing came from various studies, but you know, there was a tribe in I forget where it was, Afghanistan, where these people live up in, you know, 13, 14, 15,000 foot elevation, and when the snow melted and they went in to see them in the old days, all they were eating was vegetables, and they never ate any meat. So they thought, wow, these guys are living to be 120, 130 years old, and they don't eat any meat. Well, later on, what they found out was in winter, when they were locked in their cage, that's what they saved their meat for. So it was diet variation, and this is one of the things that Dr. Pompa has really coined. And you know, it's the old days where you get the mammoth, and then you know. So we're going to go into that, and that's so. Yeah, people are going to have to decide based on their health what they really want. You know. Okay, so I'm going to go on here. Everybody, please get on Health Rebels, get Carb Manager, and then Voxer. A couple people are on Voxer. Chris is. It's just a really good way to communicate. And as our group, as this like culture grows or this community grows, you know, we're going to do other fasts after this, other groups, and you know, it's just really nice to have a community. I mean, how many people are so isolated in their job that they don't have somebody to talk to when they're going, hey, you know what's going on with such and such, and you get 5 people's answers on it. It's kind of cool. Okay, so this is kind of reviewing last week first. Some of our goals and intentions. You could have started with any of these things, and maybe as we go through this program, things are going to change. Like Chris, you're going, I don't want to crave sweets anymore. Well, you already don't. So what else can we work on? So we'll kind of go over this as we go. So our whole ketogenic process is there's 2 steps: lower your carbs and increase your fats. And that's what's really important. I just did, we were away on a weekend. My whole staff were down with Dr. Pompa, and we had a really good time. But I had a few feast days, let's say, down there. But I measured my ketones today, and my ketones were at 0.6. So I'm right back in ketosis after having a couple feast days. And, and then my glucose is about 104. So it's a little high. So now I'm going to just go back on the ketogenic process. And within a couple days, my ketones will probably be about 2.5 or what have you. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So, okay, so increased fats. Anybody else have trouble getting enough fat in them, enough oils?
I've had to work on it, but I'm getting there.
Good.
I've had to figure it out.
Yeah.
And yeah. Now,
Go ahead.
cream.
Yeah.
And where does that fit in the fat?
Half and half or cream?
No,
Whipping cream.
heavy whipping cream.
That's pure fat.
So does that fit into the 2 by 2 by 2?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And does it come under like the butter category?
Yeah.
Okay, because it's good.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
you can substitute that for ghee.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do that. And I recommend just remember diet variation. So if you're eating butter for 4 or 5 days, more butter, then, look at this we're going to challenge it. Like you said, it's not as hard as running a marathon, but force yourself to eat a different kind of oil. Get some avocado oil, some olive oil, some coconut oil, because all of those different oils have different little things called fatty acids, and we need all kinds of them for various hormone function, for brain function, to get the cell walls going. So remember diet variation, we're going to be talking more and more about that. Right now we're really doing one thing. What are we trying to do right now, really? Fat adapted, thank you, that's awesome. So let's stay really focused, because it's so easy to just go off, well, I'm just going to try not to eat for 3 days and see what happens. You may make it, but this is going to help you get there. Okay, we're doing this very logically. Again, this was some of week 1 stuff, the 2-2-2 rule, everybody knows what that is. Okay, and then net carbs. Remember how to do net carbs?
Yeah.
Anybody not know how to do net carbs? It's total carbs minus fiber will give you the net carbs. And there's an example on day 1 there. And in getting into ketosis, as Dr. Pompa just said on the video today, it increases your results of autophagy and stem cell production, which we're here for what?
Stem cell.
That's right. Okay. And then this is kind of where we're at. We're really in week 2, so the magic is starting to begin already. A lot of you have had some things change in your body. Some of you may not have them yet. Just hang in there. We're preparing the body. Like, anybody ever taken a vitamin, and then I hear this a lot, they go, well, I didn't feel anything, so I didn't take it. It's not a drug. You're not going to take a vitamin and go, whoa, Alice be Tokely, or whatever you call it, that's whatever it is. And so we're in this zone here, so just enjoy the journey. And then the 7 reasons to fast, I just want to keep reviewing this every week. Autophagy, stem cell surge, elevating the ketones. Ketones burn clean. The brain loves them. And there's studies out that show 20% better mental function. So, it's all cool stuff. Cancer cannot live on ketones. It lives on sugar, not ketones. So the more you bring your glucose down and start to live on ketones, you're going to allow your body to stop producing bad cells. Or if they do produce, they're going to start out a lot quicker. Okay? Hormone optimization. Hormones are everything. All of the functions in our brain, again, that pituitary gland. I gave that example of the football team last week, right? Yeah, that's the pituitary. That's our whole hormone system. Hormones tell cells what to do. So that's really important. And then we want to reset the DNA. So when you have a cell that's all inflamed and we get toxins in there or bad sugars, the bad, it's like circuit breakers in your house. The kitchen's out. Oh, now the bathroom's out. So you don't have any way to find your way around. Well, those are the genes getting turned on. And those are the things we want to help. And what was the last one? Oh, the microbiome. We talked about that with Chris. We want to starve off the bad ones and start to get them to make good new ones. So here's our objective now. Consume 3 keto-friendly meals a day. So some of you have knocked out the snacks. You're down to 3 or 4 meals a day. So now we want to really kind of get you, your body does not need as much sugar now as it did a week ago. You know, and a lot of us, here's the biggest thing that changed my life is, who always has been told, clean your plate? Man, that is like the biggest problem for Americans. You know, you clean your plate, you're full. It takes 20 minutes for your stomach to tell your brain you're full. Do you guys know that? The hormones that go up to the brain and tell the brain that you're full, it takes about 20 minutes for that to occur. So what I've learned to do is I'll eat and then I'll go, God, that all looks so good, but I don't think I need any more. And I still, my wife will attest to this, you know, I used to, well, eat a lot like a guy, you know. But now I make a little bit. She goes, that's too much for you. I go, no, it isn't. I'm hungry. Sure enough, I mean, there's food left on my plate. So just start listening to your body, because you don't need that extra fuel, because it ends up here, it ends up on the organs, which is called visceral fat, which is really the dangerous stuff. So now we're going to say, don't eat less. Well, I just said eat less. But eat less often. You're not going to want to eat so much. So what all the science, and there's tons of information about this, you don't have to necessarily eat less, but just don't eat all day long. Just eat a little bit, 3 meals a day, eat less often. You can still eat the good, healthy foods you want. And right now, you can eat as much as you think you need, okay? We're working. See, I tried to jump us ahead, which I told you not to do, because it will make you crash and burn. So let's listen to Dr. Pompa put this in order, not me flying off the seat of my pants. Okay? How eating less often preps you for the fast? Well, you start to burn fuel more efficiently. Every time you put food in your mouth, because you are going to be eating some carbs, it turns to sugar pretty quickly, and then that sugar is going to be the most available energy. So every time you eat, you're creating more sugar, right? That sugar is going to burn in the cells and then be stored in the liver for a quick results. So now that we're not constantly giving it meals, we're giving it only 3, your body's going to go, I guess I got to burn a fat cell. It's more work, but I want it. So eventually your body, we're training it to be able to burn ketones and not depend on sugar so much. And then when we start to shorten your eating window, which we're going to do in a week or so, your body's going to be already fat adapted, and it's going to know how to start burning your fat right then when you're not eating for 16 hours. You will be living off of your fat. Your body's going to be ketone adapted, and it's going to be a good thing. So keto-friendly meals, just as a review, under 50 grams of carbs a day. Now get your carb counter. It's really pretty easy to do. But it's total carbs. Hey, if I can figure it out, you know what? I want to tell you, this is the 2nd week in a row. We've been doing this 3 weeks, but the 2nd week in a row, I get the PowerPoint together, and then I go do something and I lost it. And I went over to Carol's, and I go, Carol, I lost the PowerPoint again. And of course, she found it because she's a techie, but I'm going, man, it's 4 o'clock. I have to redo this whole thing. So if I can do the carb counter, you can. And then 1/2 of your weight in grams of protein a day is where you want to get. So again, I'm 197 pounds. I just did my body comp today. So say 100 pounds is half of my body weight. 100 grams. A chicken breast is 45 grams, and an egg is 6 grams. The carb counter will put it out for you right there. You know, it's really easy. And then healthy fats. So the more healthy fats you eat, the fuller you're going to get quicker. And those healthy, there's going to be like oak burning in your fireplace rather than pine. If you burn pine all day long, you're going to need a lot more pine. That's how sugar burns. If you've got some good oak in there, it's going to burn all night. And that's how fat burns. So we want to get our body efficient.
Are we talking net carbs though?
Yes. So net carbs is, total carbs, sorry about that. Total carbs minus the fiber. And there's an example of that in week 1. Okay, just how to do it. If anybody has any trouble with that, this is what you get on, or any of this stuff. Get on Health Rebels and go, hey, anybody having trouble figuring this out? And if somebody goes, hey, I got a great meal that you guys can do, let's just have fun. I mean, we can do anything we want, really, you know. There's no laws or rules to this planet. We just got ourselves pigeonholed into them. But we're doing something different. We're changing a culture here. Okay. Troubleshooting. So if you have trouble getting into ketosis, I'm going to skip ahead. So I told you guys about the keto meter. And so we got 15% off by... This is a discount that you can get by just going onto their website. Instead of being $122, it's $109. And this is really what you want to get, okay? It's called the Keto Meter. And I'll have that posted. I tried to post it in Health Rebels, but they won't let me post something that I want to sell on there.
Yeah, because you have to sell it through Facebook Shop, and that's not...
Oh, okay. So I'm just going to, Arlene, or excuse me, what's your name? Carol. A little brain fog. Carol.
Well, that's a bit.ly, so that we can translate that into a regular URL and send it out.
Yeah, we'll put that out on an email. Okay. So anyway, there's 60 ketone strips and 60 glucose strips. They're usually $1 each, right? Anywhere you get them. So $120, you get the whole thing with the kit for $109. You know, that's, so I recommend getting it. The pea strips will tell you if you're in ketosis, but it doesn't give you a number. Because, you know, we want to know, ideally, you want a 1-to-1 ratio in ketones and glucose. That's down the road. You know, we'll go over that. But I just measured my whole staff today. And I was really glad to see that I was, you know, in ketosis without even trying. But I've been doing this for a year and a half. Yeah, step aside. Yeah, and we'll send that out for you. You don't need to measure that down. And what there's on these things, you know, they have little pins that you put in and stuff. I just take this thing and just go like that. It's so much easier. But I would demonstrate here, but as a chiropractor, I can't draw blood. So thank God.
Yeah, we can't use the URL. It's like 100 characters long. So
no, this is a short one.
Yeah, if everybody can write that down.
No, we can email that URL to people. Just email it.
Okay.
That's what the guy said. I talked to the guy.
Yeah, just make sure that that I have everyone's email address. I guess.
Or write it down. I mean, it's pretty easy, but you know what? Yeah, you make mistakes on it all the time. I'll put it up afterwards.
Yeah.
So we don't.
Yeah.
Okay, so Stemnomic solution overview, autophagy, stem cell production, and creating a healthy future. I already talked about that, didn't I? 3 keto-friendly meals a day. You know, we want to eliminate all snacks. I got to tell you, a 23-year-old young lady came in Friday, looked healthy. She gave me she filled out what we call a neurotoxic questionnaire, which all of you guys should have. If not, you should grab one, and we might have to email them to you. But it's a page that looks for heavy metals, toxins, all this stuff. And she is so sick. It was unbelievable what's going on inside her body. And half of the symptoms she was having was augmented by the side effects of a medication she was taking. And she had never even looked it up. And so I showed her, I go, well, all these things. She goes, well, I had them before. I go, well, yeah, so add a medication that causes those, it's going to get it worse. Stomach didn't barely work at all. So then we have her fill out a 3-day meal plan. Now this is a 23-year-old UCSC student, blue hair. Breakfast, mocha, 3 slices of bacon, definitely not organic. Snack, Doritos. Lunch, pepperoni pizza. Dinner, McMuffin with French fries. And that was almost 3 days in a row. And she goes, I don't know why I'm unhealthy. I was like, oh my God, this is a generation that's just gone, you know. And I go, well, you know about Monsanto? She goes, no, what's that? No. Do you know about, have you heard about Roundup or gluten or, what's that, glyphosate? Roundup? She goes, no, I don't know anything about that. I go, well, you live in the health food mecca of the world. You're going to UCSC and you don't know any of this? I said, ask your friends. So, you know, my point is...
Hear what her friends say.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I have a feeling they're going to say they have no clue either.
Yeah, and it's sad, you know, but that's why we're doing this, because we've never been taught. And she's from LA, her family grew up in LA, and her mother has all these health problems, no kidding. Now, this woman didn't have any mercury in her mouth. But her mother had so much mercury in her mouth that she's got, she told me about all this stuff. I'm sure when we do a heavy metal test on her, we're going to find mercury, lead, and all those things that come down 4 generations. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in. It was like, we were at the seminar, and it was amazing that we did that test today. I told my staff, I go, look, this is exactly what's wrong with with our healthcare system. Okay, so again, don't eat less often. All of the studies, and there are numerous, and they're very clear that eating less allows you to live longer. Why do you think that would be, anybody?
Because you're not working your body so hard to digest the food.
Wait, stem cells.
Yeah. And anything else you think? What do we know eating causes, especially an American diet? What's it going to cause in your body?
Cancer, plaques. Plaque.
Yeah, plaque, inflammation, all that kind of stuff, right? So, caloric restriction. Now, this is the big thing. There's so many diet plans. Caloric restriction eventually slows metabolism. I talked about this, I think, the first night. So if you're eating 1,500 calories a day, and I'm not really good at the calorie counting thing, I just want to make simple. Just tell me what to eat, But some of you need more guidance. But if you are at 1,500 calories and you go to one of the places that tell you to count calories, if you get down to 1,000 calories, your body will lose weight. But that's the new norm now. So now you will stop losing weight. It's just like your body knows that to be homeostasis. And then pretty soon you go, God, I just want to have that sugar again. I want to have that ice cream. And then all of a sudden you're back up to 16, 17, 1,500 calories. Well, now you just put on more weight than you started with because that's all excess energy that's got to be stored somewhere. Does that make sense? So we know that calorie restriction eventually slows down metabolism. You probably have friends that have tried these different diet plans and you look at them and go, how long have you been doing that? It's like... So there's reasons why, and it's not just that. There's toxins and other things that stop body from losing weight. No ancient culture ate less by pushing food away. They had to go get it. Okay, they did it by eating less often because they had to go out and search for their food. They didn't have a refrigerator full of bread. I mean, can you imagine an ancient culture who goes, oh, I'm just going to eat every 15 minutes. Yeah, I'm just going to go out and kill another antelope or, go climb another tree or, slay another dragon. No, they ate. Most of the cultures in the hunter-gatherer ate one meal a day. It was one big meal a day. They spent all day gathering. And they were really healthy until, we brought in disease. Yeah.
So where does exercising fit in and not breaking down muscle tissue, making sure that you're not breaking down your muscle tissue?
Yeah, great question. Everybody hear a question? So the one thing is what happens a lot of times if people are not fat adapted and then they go and they work out real heavily, they're going to break down muscle because their body has not even learned how to burn fat yet. So the next best thing to burn is muscle. So, when you're on, when we're going to teach you when to do 24-hour fast days, there's a couple of those, and then, the 12 to 16-hour. On those big days, you may not want to fast, but, exercise really hard. But we have a friend, guy, he ran, what did he do? One of those tri-marathons, remember Randy?
Yeah.
And he's a chiropractor. He fasted 37 days and he did one of those things where you climb up the mountains and climb in the mud and do all that. And he said it was his best one ever. Because he's so fat adapted, his body was just pouring out this perfect amount of fuel. And he did really well. So the more your body gets fat adapted, the healthier your nervous system is and the less toxins. Because if you're really toxic, that's another thing. We want to see how toxic you are, because when you're burning fat, there are toxins stored in fat. We do it in a nice, even keel. Most of the time, your liver and kidney are going to be able to get rid of those. But, if you're having trouble, then that's a reason to say, hey, I'm having trouble. When I walk up a hill, I feel like I get a headache, or I'm exhausted, or I feel nauseous. Well, there's toxins going on there, and we need to talk about that. And some people won't have that, some will. Make sense? Okay. Therefore, eat to live a long, healthy life. Eat less by eating less often. That's really your mantra. You know, don't eat less often. Any other questions on any of this yet? Okay, just speak up because it's a workshop. Most important teaching of the week, make sure you're fat adapted, mitochondria adapted, and utilize storage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the cell for a minute, and because the cell's the only part of us that's alive, right? Everybody agree with that? Let me see if I have a blank piece of paper here. Okay. So, if we draw a cell here, okay, you got a cell wall. The cell wall is made up with what they call a two-lipid layer. It's made up of 2 layers of oil. And there's the mitochondria in the cell and a whole bunch of other things, like these things all do something. But what happens is this cell wall has these little receptor sites on it that are specific to all the different hormones, vitamins, and minerals. A receptor that's specific to insulin cannot take in estrogen or progesterone or testosterone or thyroid hormone. One that's specific to thyroid can't take in estrogen. Okay? So what happens over years and years and years of our body being filled with toxins, getting very inflamed, the receptor sites get plugged up. Okay? And so pretty soon the cell wall looks like this. It's kind of like, anybody ever had poison oak in this? Anybody ever had their face swollen shut? So you had eyes, could you see?
No.
So you have cell receptors that are so swollen with heavy metals, biochemicals, molds, everything that we are consuming, the air that we breathe, the water we drink, mainly the food we eat, and our livers are so plugged up now because they've been trying to clean dirty blood comes in with all the cellular debris, and then clean blood's supposed to come out, float around to the cell again, but our livers get plugged up just like an oil filter. And the best way to think about it is if I had a bucket of water and I'm washing the walls and I keep putting the sponge in the water, pretty soon the water's going to be so dirty that I'm making the walls more dirty by not cleaning the water. So when your liver gets so polluted, which happens because of all of those things I mentioned, it's not able to clean the blood completely. So then you got dirty blood circulating back around. It's kind of like a radiator fluid that's filled with rust. As long as you got rust going around in the radiator and then you have particles going around in the oil, your engine's going to be smoking and your car's going to probably overheat and blow up eventually. Well, that's what's happening to our bodies. So that's why we got to get cleaned up. So anyway, when the perfect example of this is this. This is a very expensive prop. So if these are cells and these are all the cell receptors, and everything attaches and it works. Well, what happens when they get swollen like this? The information can't get in. Some of the stuff is so toxic that it actually just destroys the receptors. And then it melts them, and it pollutes them and clogs them, and just, it's not good. This is the problem with the people that are chronically inflamed. They have chronic small joint pain, no energy, all that stuff. Their body's so inflamed that cells, which are the only part of life, the only thing alive, can't get the nutrients. I'll give you another example here. Get a nice pretty color, maybe. Okay, so the insulin's job is to do what? Out of where? The pancreas is where insulin comes. Where's the sugar flowing around that it needs to get out of that Huh?
In the bloodstream.
Yeah, it's in the blood. So we get sugar in our bloodstream, and if it gets too high, we die. If it gets too low, we die. So those organs in the brain, called the pituitary and hypothalamus, they monitor how much. It's like pulp in orange juice. You got a certain amount of pulp in orange juice that's acceptable. That's the blood sugar. If it gets too thick, then the pancreas pumps out insulin to push that sugar into the cell. Okay. So now we've got this perfect system. And Dr. Fung talked about this in the last video I showed you guys. Insulin opens the door, it's a sliding glass door on your cell wall, and the scorched sugar or glucose in. Glucose gets to the mitochondria, makes energy. Only place in the body energy is made is in this little thing called the mitochondria, a very beautiful thing, isn't it? That makes energy, but what happens in an internal combustion engine when you make energy? You get exhaust, right? So then that exhaust comes out and it has to get out of the body. See, look, I'm dyslexic. I did that backwards. So, but the cell walls are so plugged up that they can't get the toxins out of the body. And this is one thing the body comp test will show us. So now you've got more toxins inside the cell than you need. And since this is plugged up, one insulin can no longer open the sliding glass door. So your body has to make a whole bunch more insulin to open that sliding glass door. Pretty soon your pancreas can't make enough insulin, so what do? What do you get?
Artificial.
Yeah, and I'm going to make that black just because it sounds like the right thing. So you get black insulin, right? This man-made insulin, which is great for saving lives because this was not handled. So now you have this pushing that in. It may or may not get in there. You guys see how that works? The body, that's what insulin resistance is. It's toxins in the body causing the cells not to see. Now, $20 million question, needs to be $1 million question, right? Do you think thyroid hormone's going to be able to get into that same cell?
No.
It's going to have the same problem, right? How about estrogen?
Same problem.
Testosterone?
Yep.
Progesterone?
Yep.
So, you know, typically you're a 40-year-old woman, you go to the medical doctor, you say you're having problems with hot flashes or whatever, and they go, well, if you're 40 years old, we need to give you some more estrogen. So just the same thing, now you've got, well, I should have made those orange, now you've got black estrogens. They start with a Z, because they're called, or an X, because they're called xenoestrogens. Not only do you get xenoestrogens from the hormones that they give you, but all of the stuff that they're injecting birds with, you know, like for chicken breast, turkey breast, the cows, they give them more estrogen so that they develop, and they give them growth hormone so they have more milk. The cows get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're all standing in feedlots. The feed is fertilized with an estrogen-based fertilizer, also with glyphosate in it. And then they're all getting infected because they're standing in muddy lots, so then they inject them with antibiotics that are also estrogen producing. So,
making me hungry.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So, you know, that's what we're doing, you guys. These cells are in bad shape. So what we're doing is, of course, by changing our diet. You know what started all this? I asked you guys a question, and it was, why can't the body actually use the glucose? That wasn't the question. I'll tell you the answer because I forgot the question. But sugar burns too smoky. It burns smoke like hot and smoky, and it causes inflammation in all the joints in the body. Any magazine, any research article says inflammation is the cause of chronic disease. But they don't tell you how to get rid of inflammation. They tell you to eat 6 meals a day, all carbs, and they don't even talk about a ketone up until recently. Now, the ketogenic diet.
They say don't eat fat, don't eat fat, don't eat fat. That's
Yeah,
all they say. That's all they say in the
mainstream
hospitals.
nurse here. Yeah.
Don't eat fat. Just eat the protein, eat the vegetable, eat the carb. Don't eat, and you eat small amount of carb, but you eat the carb. But it's protein, vegetable, small amount of carb, no fat.
How many
no fat,
meals a day?
No fat. Oh, 6, 8.
How about anti-inflammatory pill?
That'd be great. That would plug your liver even more, you know? I mean, it's pretty crazy. So that's what we're doing, guys. This is what we do is and some of you will need to go this route, some won't, but because the brain is up here, this blood is also circulating through the brain and then back through the whole body. And the blood goes through your body, 4 times a minute? 4 or 5 times a minute. Your blood circulates completely around your body. So if you've got dirty blood going into the brain, and there's a barrier called the what? Blood-brain barrier. It's going to, what do you think those toxins do to the membrane, which is called the blood-brain barrier? It might get inflamed too. So now you're getting more particles into your brain than you should, and they get absorbed into fat, because fat stores what? What's your brain made out of? Fat. Wow, it's a perfect place. It'll just store a bunch up here. Okay, and especially heavy metals, pituitary, and all that stuff. So, one thing we do after we start to get our bodies cleaned up and burning efficiently, Some of you are going to, number one, want to find out what your heavy metal load is. And some of you are going to go, you know, I think I need to detox, and we can talk about that another time. But the way we do that is we start by cleaning up the liver and kidney, because that's downstream. You can't, you know, if I'm doing dishes or I'm pouring dirty water in my sink and the sink's plugged down there, and if I just keep pouring, you know, doing the dishes, pretty soon the water is going to come up, spill out onto the floor and out through the cracks in the. That's what we're doing when our digestive system doesn't work right. The average patient that comes in here has about four bowel movements a week. You should have 3 a day. Now some of you may not, but I've had, like that young lady I told you about, she has 3 bowel movements a week since she could remember. So she's just filled with toxins. So we've got to open up this, so as we're cleaning the heavy metals and toxins and stuff out of here, and then eventually out of the brain, it has someplace to go. By the way, I didn't finish this thought, but this exhaust, if it can't get out of the fats, the cell, you're in trouble. That's one thing this fast tonic does, by the way, because it is the hydrogen that gets into the cells, into the mitochondria, and pulls out the plaque, like you get your teeth clean. That's what it does. It will pull out the stuff, and we'll go into that in another week or so. But the best analogy of this is if you're driving down the road and you got a car, right? And you got a hose in the exhaust pipe, and you put that hose in your window, and then you just kind of roll it up and you keep driving. That's what's happening. I mean, it's funny, but that's really what's happening. And I told this young lady who had these incredibly wonderful meals, you know, what if you stuck the hose in there, but you rolled the window down a little bit. So you're getting rid of some, but you're pouring it in as fast as it's going out, you're still going to get sick. So that's why we're doing the diet variation. That's why we want you guys to go organic. That's why, you want to have meals, don't eat less often. Get your body to force it into fat adaptation and get it to force it to burn some of these fats, so that your body will start to detox smoothly. And also remember, as you're breaking down cells, fat cells are broken down too with lousy cell walls, and new fat cells become made, and they're more efficient. Does that make sense to you guys? I want you to really know the why behind the how. So this is why it's really important to go through the process and not just jump off the deep end and go, well, I fasted for 24 hours. And then I got a flu and a cold and I can't see straight. We want to save you from that. Any questions on any of that? Did it kind of make sense? Yes.
What is the exhaust from the mitochondria?
Great question. It's cellular debris. It's, anytime you make energy, it's free radicals, basically. I mean, I could tell you I can find out, I could call Dr. Pompa on it. But no, really what it is, it's all of the it's anything that breaks down from, the sugar. And that's a great question, actually, because mitochondria can burn 2 fuels. What are they? Sugar and fat. Sugar, the breakdown of that is like, and this is as simple as I can make it, it's like the smoke in your burning smoky pine wood in your fireplace. The ketones is like what you get out of when you burn a gas stove. So it's not good, whatever it is. It's cellular debris. You want it out of your body, through the liver, and out of the house. Yeah.
So when we started this, for a few days we were feeling a little bit lazy or not very energetic, and a teeny bit out of it. And today you're feeling better, a lot better. So where would that be in that diagram if we started cutting out a lot of sugar, and so
yeah. I mean, I'll tell you where. See, so here's the deal: your body's not fat adapted yet.
Right.
Some people fat adapt a lot easier. Like I don't know if you were here when I said that I checked my ketones and I'm at 0.6. 0.5 is being in ketosis. So I'm in ketosis. But I ate all weekend. I went to the seminar. So even though we ate ketone-friendly foods, I did eat, enough that I had 2 feast days, which isn't necessarily what I should do. But at the same time, my body went into ketosis in a day. Now, that's what you want to train yourself to do. A lot of times, for all of the people in here, some people are going to go into ketosis in a week, some 3, some 4 days. So to answer your question, forget everything I just said, your body's trying to burn a fuel it's not used to burning, and you're cutting down the available quick fuel, so it's having to work harder to start to burn the ketones. Now, you also, and this is one reason we want to do this slowly, because your body's going to burn muscle if it isn't fat adapted yet. Fat adapted means it can burn fat immediately without even thinking about it. So we're taking you through this course to be able to become fat adapted. So your body's probably just using up some of its stored fuel. You're probably feeling some toxins burning out of your body, and that's okay. That's normal. Anybody else had any feelings like that?
Well, what if you're feeling good?
That's great.
I mean, does that mean that
You're fat adapted?
It's all working, or is it just going to work, feel a little better because you're not eating?
Well, you're going to go up and down. It's like, you know, if you're cleaning an engine with a blower, you know, with a pressure washer, you're going to come to a big glob of grease. It's so stuck in there. So, you know, there's going to be probably some ups and downs in here. Especially when we start detoxing, because there's definitely toxins in our bodies. I mean, they're there. We want to get the body to access them as nicely as possible. And so, you know, one thing is if you're stopping to eat a lot of toxic food, your body has, a lot of stored sugar right now. So most of you haven't even stopped using up your stored sugar. Our liver's got tons of stored sugar in it. Our cells have tons of stored sugar in it. So some people are going to burn through that stored sugar quickly based on their body type and their toxic load and all that kind of stuff. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. Prepare for next week. So why don't you guys turn to week 2. This is kind of fun, right? Okay. So don't eat less often. Now some of you already got this down, but really work on this. We can't rush getting into becoming fat adapted. Okay? So what he's wanting us to do right now is we want to build on the ketone principle. So what he wants you to do is write when you took your first bite and your last bite and what your eating windows were. So we're starting to work. We want to find out, does everybody understand an eating window? You eat breakfast and you eat dinner and then you go to bed. Well, from the time you're in bed to the time you wake up, you haven't eaten. That's not part of your eating window. That's a resting thing. So if I eat breakfast at 7 and I eat dinner at 6, and I have an 11-hour eating window. Does that make sense? So don't change it now, just start to spot where it is. So now you're eating, not eating less, but you're what? Eating less. So you're going to have 3 meals a day now. Really try to resist the snacks. And in this chart here, write down, okay, I ate at 7 in the morning, and then I quit eating at 6 at night. And just do that for 7 days. Now the reason we're doing this, again, is you just want to go, wow, can I get through the day without eating snacks? And then what we're going to do, we're going to start to talk about in the next coming weeks, we're going to start to talk about what fast days are and then what feast days are. And that's going to be fun because we're going to really challenge our body. And again, you're going to find out how fat adapted you are at that point. And then what I really recommend that you do is go and get the keto meter. Obviously, you only need 1 per couple, but you know, they're really handy. And the price is really good. They got it down for us through Dr. Pompa has so many people buying that we got it down.
So, like, I do snack because I don't eat like big meals.
Mm-hmm.
I eat about 6 times a day
Okay.
to keep my energy level up.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like a cheese stick or something like that.
Okay.
Full fat.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I get hungry, you said to put just the cellular salt on.
Yeah, some of the Himalayan salt works for me. Carol, what do you say?
Well, I'm just, based on what you just said, I'm thinking that maybe you're getting hungry because you are eating so much a day. But I know when I was doing that, I added more fat to when I got hungry. I would just eat. I mean, sometime the other day I just put a teaspoon of butter in my mouth. Or nuts, actually macadamia nuts.
Yeah, they're really good.
I just had that weird hunger thing, and I just had some macadamia nuts, and they just settled in, and I was good, and for a few hours. So it might just be when you said cheese stick. I mean, cheese sticks do. Or you mean real cheese?
Real cheese.
Oh, okay, I got
You
you,
know,
yeah.
it's like, because I was on a different ketogenic diet, and it was, but you ate like 6 times a day small meals, but it would contain fat, different types of fat. So like maybe half an avocado or, you know, nuts. Or,
But cheese also is protein, right?
Yeah.
So she might be getting the protein going to sugar.
Yeah, so I think, you know, you're going to have you've trained yourself a certain way, and it might take you a little longer to get yourself down to 3 meals a day. I mean, you might, and not everybody's going to do this week by week by week. Some of us are going to take a little longer, and it's okay. Don't force your body. This is the rest of your life we're talking about. Because once you get this going, 20, 30, 40 years down the road, you're going to be a lot healthier.
And the other thing I would add too, because I was similar while I was eating.
Yeah, you could never think
It
of
took me a
fasting.
long time to get fat. Was just increasing the amount of food in the meal.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it earlier today, but I found that and this may not apply to everybody, just to test and just modify things. So eat 3 meals a day with the same quantity, and then that didn't quite work. Okay, well try switching breakfast or lunch and lunch for breakfast, or eating different quantities for each meal.
And different types
Because
of oil.
each of us are different, and I found that I cannot eat a big breakfast. Forget it, I just can't do it. You know, the breakfast for kings is not me. And I feel better when I don't eat breakfast at all. But then I discovered as I was playing around with intermittent fasting that all of a sudden the food wasn't sitting right that I was eating. And so I started playing around with what I was, you know, the exact types of food, how much vegetable it took. I would get hungry. Okay, why am I hungry? I just had vegetables and I had the right thing. I would add more of this. Really play around with all the different things in those 3 meals. Because you may discover now, the other day, I mean, I got to dinner and I had absolutely no hunger whatsoever. And I had just consumed enough fat and everything else I needed for the day that my body was just telling me, thank you, I just don't need anything more. And that shocked me.
Yeah, and see, what you're struggling with is exactly what Dr. Pompa wanted us to really drill in. Is don't eat less often.
Yeah.
So, like Carol says, it's right. Maybe you need to eat a little bit bigger portions with more fat, and maybe you eat 4 times a day to begin with, or 5. Try to cut out a meal and add a little bit more. And your body's going to clunk and, you know, some are going to clunk and spit and it's get hangry and all this kind of stuff. And we're so afraid of that. It's just your body's okay. It will survive.
But the Himalayan salt on the finger, I think that was the
That
answer
helps.
to your question.
Huh?
I think
That helps
to help the hunger.
One thing that helped me that I read in one of your books that you recommend is don't be afraid to be hungry.
Yeah.
And wow, did that kind of open my eyes.
How long did it take you to overcome that little moment in time?
When I read it, I recognized it, and it was done. And now,
Yeah.
like my eating window, because I've been doing something for a while, but it starts at 12:30. Well, if I start getting hungry at 12:30, it's fun to wait to 1 or 1:30, and I
Awesome.
actually enjoy that feeling now.
Yeah, you're right. I've had that same experience. You kind of go, wow. Yes.
What if you are not in ketosis by next week? Can you still follow?
Yeah, still come, still, we're going to keep going on this. And we're going to, this
still
group
do
is,
fast days?
huh?
Can we still do the fast days?
Well, we're going to try. And if they, like I said, you can't fail. Huh?
It took me 3 months to go into ketosis, and I was still dropping weight. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. Just do what you're supposed to do and just keep moving forward. Eventually the body will adjust, and all of a sudden I had a blood test and I went, I mean, but it took a while.
Yeah,
It was
and
okay.
so this
Doing
is
everything right.
this is another reason we really should build this culture on in it's fun to ask questions. Like, you know, Teresa, you might ask the question and then Nancy might answer it. You go, okay, well, there's 10 other people that have had the same thing. It's not just me. If they can do it, I can do it. You know, that's what's cool about doing this in a group. And so the other thing which you want to find out is, are you in ketosis? So that's, and look, I'm not making anything off these meters. I'm just telling you they're great. Because we're going to start in a week or two when you have these, we're going to find out if coffee is good for you or not. And
I don't want to know.
well, we can make it good for you one way or another,
Okay.
I promise. But you know, by just getting the keto meter, you wake up in the morning and you find out, okay, I'm not in ketosis yet. So it's going to be a little bump in the road to get some of us in ketosis. But once you're in it, man, it's like riding that bike up that hill and you go, oh, and then you're coasting and you feel good, right? And that's how ketones make you feel great when you're burning ketones. So, where was I? Any other questions on that? Okay, we're going to just scoot ahead. So yeah, when's your first bite? When's your last bite? Okay, note the time you take your first and last bite or sip of food, drink other than water. So that answers your question. And then, wait a sec. Then calculate your eating window for the next day.
So if I do bulletproof coffee in the morning, and that's all till noon. Is my first meal at noon?
Yeah, you can do the bulletproof coffee because that's, according to Dr. Pompa right now, unless we're doing a 24-hour water fast, you can still do the bulletproof coffee. Yeah, that you can have. You can have your oil in the morning.
So that doesn't, so for the eating window, then the eating window starts
Your first meal.
So
Yeah.
noon.
So, can I start at 10 and finish at 5?
Yeah. Some people are going to eat breakfast and be done at 12. Your eating window doesn't have to be like, the morning. Everybody's going to find their own most convenient, workable eating window.
My husband's done by 2 in the afternoon. He quits eating by 2 in the afternoon. He does that pretty typically almost every day.
And everybody's going to have different experiences, and we're all human. And we've got to talk more about why we're going to have trouble with it. Any other questions on this?
And don't forget dark chocolate, ladies.
Dark chocolate with stevia.
Dark chocolate, 70%
About that
stevia.
honest dark chocolate.
Oh my God.
You only
I
need
don't
one
know what I
bite
would
of
do
it,
with
though.
that.
It's so
What is it?
satisfying, that honest
Is it got sugar in it or stevia?
No, it's stevia,
Good.
lilies.
stevia.
Stuff's
When
great.
you put on that list, and I got a bar of it, I just
Yeah, the dark chocolate is one of the strongest antioxidants on the planet. So if you can get it, and I'll just eat about this much, and it's a snack, it satisfies my taste buds. There's no sugar in it, but that might be a dessert at the end of the day when we get to that. So we're eating windows. So that's our goal right now is to get online and order your Keto Mojo so you can start to learn how to prick your finger, test your blood sugar and your glucose. Again, you don't have to get it, but you're investing a lot of time in this. I recommend you get it. And then start checking out what your eating window is, because we're going to start to narrow it, and then we're going to give you some fun days and some other fun days. Make sense? Okay. Oops, that's not the right button. So your task is to check in with your goals. So really, now some goals are going to change. Are you guys really clear on why you're doing this still? Some people have, health conditions they want to handle. Some just want to have more energy. Some just want to, lose weight or whatever it is, but they might change. As you're going through this process, you might go, that one doesn't even bother me, but I can see this now. I'm going to go for this. Or some might go, I just want to get fat adapted. So it's a process we're all working on together. And then really I want you to start to share your wins, and it will make our job go a lot better. So goals and intentions, what were your original goals? Have they changed? What help do you need? Carol and I are both available. Get on Voxer. It's so easy. How hard was it to get on Voxer?
It was easy to download it. I haven't used it yet, but it was easy to download.
Yeah. And it may be, you were going to ask what the best medium is. You want to ask that for us to get?
Yeah, because we're struggling because everybody's on different things. So, how many people in here are not on Facebook? That's
Enough.
what I was afraid of. Okay. how many people have email addresses that we can email to?
That are, how many people don't have email addresses?
Yeah.
Okay, well, would you come in enough, we can connect up with you. You're the one exception.
So how many people here don't use YouTube?
Don't use YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, if I posted this video up on YouTube and sent the link out, would everybody be?
Oh, I can figure that
Oh,
out.
okay, all right.
Don't be on McCollum Family Chiropractic, but we'll probably
Okay, so
email.
that- yeah,
the
so
You
thing.
may have to show me how first,
Okay,
and then once I know I can.
yeah, when you click on the link, I think that's all.
Okay.
So I think
I know.
it sounds like the
Really
easiest
easy.
thing for me to do, as long as, before you leave tonight, make sure on that sign-in list, I have the email address you want us to use.
Yeah.
To get this information to you, then I can email the link to the, I can give you choices, I can email the link to the YouTube, or, you know, I probably end up creating a web page too and have these all on the same web page.
Do you have that sign-up sheet to do the body comp for the Tuesday? Did you? Okay. So another thing is, the body composition analysis test, it's really cool. I think we're almost done here, so I'm gonna take a second and explain it, because I think that you're gonna want this. The body composition is going, it's, we put these little electrodes and then we turn up the juice size so you can handle it. But no, that's just kidding. It's going to check one thing called the phase angle. Now, the thing about that is the cell wall, if something can shoot straight into the cell, that's not very protected. That's a low, called the low phase angle. If it can go in, if it has to go in like that and it has to work to get in there, that's very protective cell. It's not, it's like, you know when you take those soap bubbles and you blow them, and at first they have real shiny windows on them and you can bounce them off the spoon and then you watch them and they go. That's a bad phase angle. The first one's a good phase angle. So, you know, we know they should be, it's like, you know, 7 and 8 for women and 8 to 9 for men. And then, so that's going to test that for you. So you want to know, if it's low, you're going to, well, we're all taking enough oils that should start to change that. If it doesn't change it, it means something's plugging up your body. It could be heavy metals, it could be biochemicals, it could be mold. I mean, we live in, you know, not only the health food mecca, but the mold mecca of the world, I guess, too. And then it also tests your muscle mass of your muscle. And then an extracellular mass, so it's going to test how many cells do you have. So we have how many cells, anybody know? 72 trillion cells. It's going to say how much of your body's made up of that mass-wise and how much is made up of everything else. So there's intercellular mass that's inside the cell, then extracellular outside the cell. So we're made up of, you know, cells and other stuff. There's a certain ratio we want. So we want to find out where you're at. It's also going to test your fat mass. It's going to give you a percentage, like whether you're 15, 10, 5% fat, whatever we are, or more. And then the last thing it's going to test is water inside the cells and outside the cells. You should have 60% of the water should be inside your cells and 40% out. If your cells are toxic, we'll see 50-50, or even I've seen 40-60. That means that that picture I drew a minute ago, it's so toxic in here that your body, and so toxic outside your body's trying to dilute it. You know, we were told when we eat poison, what do? We throw up, we dilute it, or what's the other thing we do? Call 911. So we don't want to call 911. So, but this is just that, it's just a good test. We're throwing that in as something that we want to offer you for nothing, just to help you get more results. We'll probably do, we'll do one now and one at the end. So if you've already lost 7 pounds, that's awesome, or however much it was, sorry. But, you know, if we had done it beforehand, it would have been not as good as it is now, but we're going to test it at the end. So that's just something, and the staff know how to do it. You just got to come in. Arlene's got some times for you to pick. It takes about 15 minutes. I recommend doing it before next time. Get your keto meter, get your carb counter, and get your Think 30 app. Grocery list. Anybody having trouble figuring out what to eat right now as far as finding the oils that they want and the low carb foods? Did you get the grocery list? You probably didn't because you weren't here the first week. So we'll get you a copy of it. Here's one, and then there's a second page of recommended stuff. There we go. And you need one too. So We'll get you one.
That was super helpful, thank you.
The list?
The list was really helpful.
Okay, good. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so Chung needs it. So anything you need from me, please let me know. Please, email us back. If you're having trouble, I'm here for you. This is like, I want you guys to have such a great experience with this that, I want to do it with more people. I want to clean up Santa Cruz. It's like, we're a mess.
It won't be weird anymore.
Yeah, it'll be weird. Okay, so create your health goals for your future. What health issues are you having? Order your tools and prepare for next week. So what are we doing for next week? Huh? 3 meals. Eat it, don't do what? Okay, don't eat less often, and try to get down to 3 meals and shorten, and then get an idea of when you start eating and when you don't. I mean, if you wake up in the morning and have to eat, and then you eat right before you go to bed, you might find that you have a 20-hour eating window. And
I have a question
yeah.
actually. Is there a medical reason, or do you have to eat carbohydrate, protein, all in one meal?
No, I don't think so.
Because I've just noticed that sometimes my body just only, like I had a veggie plate, and I just couldn't consume any protein. It didn't want it.
A lot of times.
So that's okay, right? As long as you get during the course of the day, okay. So that's
Listen, nothing's going to kill you on this diet. It's not even a diet, it's a lifestyle. Just start experimenting. If you have trouble, shoot us an email. Or Voxer is what's really good if you can get on Voxer, because it's instantaneous. Yeah.
Is it because the increase in fat that you're less hungry? Because I'm like...
Yeah, fat burns slower. Remember, fat's like oak piece of wood. You can go and come back 4 hours later and it's still burning.
Yeah.
That's the way fat burns. If you put a piece of pine on there, the house is freezing when you come back in because it's up in smoke. And that's the difference between sugar and protein. Sugar and fat. Somebody else have a question? Yeah.
I didn't see in that list, maybe in it. What about beans?
Well, beans have a lot of protein. I don't think that there's a problem necessarily. There are a lot of carbs. Yeah. Put it in your carb counter. As long as you can get under 50 grams and you want to eat beans, I feel sorry for your wife.
You can eat a lot of soup.
All right, let's see if we're about done here. Consume 3 keto-friendly meals a day. Don't eat less often. You've got to just tell yourself that. Just don't eat less often. I've been doing this for almost 2 years now, and I listen to Dr. Pompa every week, and we go to seminars all the time. And I still got to get this into my brain because I am, so used to the old guard, the way we've been raised to eat and think. Pixie sticks, those were my favorite food growing up. Some of you probably remember those as well. And when candy bars were a nickel, right? You could get a look for a nickel. I won't tell you what they cost now because you'll think I went and bought one at one point. Okay, I did. All right, so there's Dr. Pompa. That was a video we played earlier. I think that's it.
Thank you.
All right, you guys. So I'll stick around and answer any questions. Huh?
email address on
I'll put the